All right, guys, welcome to episode 5 of Ferg's Footy Fanfare. We've got Ned here, and joining me, as per usual, is Jay. Jay, how are you tonight, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, Ned. It's interesting to see a lot happen in footy. We're going to try and keep to the footy games in particular. So I'm looking forward. There's a lot of good games this week, and a lot of good games that happened last week, Ned.
Yeah, a lot of tasty games this week. Just now rolling through who I'm going to tip. There was a few that I had to scratch my head about, so we're definitely in for some very tasty games this week.
Absolutely. Enjoy sitting and having a few beers over the weekend. Unfortunately, lockdown beers.
100%. I'll be at the pub tomorrow night because,
Country boys.
I'm not affected by that at all, mate.
Yep, I'll be enjoying it from my kitchen and my living room, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you don't follow rules. Anyway, so should we just get stuck into the review of round 5?
Maybe we start with a preview.
All right.
The review of last round.
Yep, beautiful. All right, well, last week we did the St Kilda Carlton game, so we'll just go straight to the Bombers and Collingwood, Friday night football last week. So
yeah, that was interesting, that game.
Yeah, well, I mean, we chucked it on the poll, and that was the majority of people that voted in that said that Essendon were the biggest winners of the round. And look, to be honest, I picked Brisbane as the biggest winners of the round, but still, that really put a lot of confidence in my ability to tip Essendon throughout the week. I think they really showed something. I mean, given that the Collingwood side was depleted, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit, but Essendon still played some really good football and was really able to, compound and keep it tight and get ahead, especially in the wet weather as well. So
yeah, Essendon just sort of had a comfortable lead, and Collingwood were just never able to pin back.
Yeah,
I think just before half time they were a couple of goals up, and God damn, Essendon are they're up and flying. And then watching it from then on, Collingwood never really looked like they were going to threaten them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, that obviously it's a focal point with Collingwood, their forward line. It's a real barometer. When they're on, they're very difficult to contain, but when their forward line is off, it is shocking. It's down with Melbourne's forward line. They really struggle. I managed to pick up some stats throughout the week. So you had Mason Cox had an absolute shocker. He had 2 touches. Yeah, Jamie Elliott had 9 touches, Maya Check had 9 touches, and Hoskin Elliott had 14, but he spent over 80% of that on the wing. So,
yeah,
I mean, Stevenson was good. He kicked 3. But if you're going to have a team that's really vying for, top 4 deep into finals football, they need to sort that out. They need someone consistent, week in, week out. Team plays well, he still kicks 2, maybe he doesn't, but even if they play badly, he can still be relied upon. Yeah,
that's right. You just got to have no holes, really, if you want to be a genuine premiership threat. There's got to be, no followers on the squad of 22 on the day.
Yeah, spot on. Now, I'm going to ask you a question here, Ned. My personal answer is no. I don't think this can happen. But do you think that Collingwood are any chance of winning a flag without Howe?
I'm not going to write them off, but I think it's going to be extremely difficult for them.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to be lucky to win a game without Howe and Sidebottom. You could tell they missed Sidebottom last Friday night. You really could. Just a bit of cleanliness on the outside.
Yeah, and just a lot of poor decision-making as well. That's where Sidebottom's usually so handy, because he works so well as the likes of Pendlebury. If Pendlebury's not there, you've got Sidebottom there, who's got a good football brain and usually negates them out of trouble. But they missed
spot on. No, so I think they've got a lot of things to turn around. I saw that they're debuting another tall, which is fair enough. I don't know. They got to try and change something up. I don't think Mason Cox is their answer.
Nah, he's done.
I saw someone throughout the week, I can't remember which footy journalist it was, but they said, I think it might have been Bob Murphy. He was saying Mason Cox is like coriander. You're either all in or all out with him. And, look, I think like everyone knows he had one really, really good game that happened to be under the spotlight of, finals footy and all that. But I don't think he's first 22s, even at a dodgy team, let alone Collingwood.
Yeah.
All right, so the next game that we had was West Coast Sydney, and West Coast were able to get back on track. They finally got their midfield firing, Ned, that superstar midfield that you talk about.
Yeah, still not overly convinced with Tim Kelly because he hasn't been as good as what he has been at Geelong. Mm-hmm. And he only really started playing well when West Coast started getting on top of the game. So is the big question that is Tim Kelly just a player that plays well when the team's playing well, or can he be your player that you need to step up and actually grind you over the line? Because I found he was a lot more of a follower, whereas at Geelong, he was fourth in the Brownlow last year.
Yeah.
He was probably the leader of a lot of all that surge, but
yeah. No, I think that's true as well. It was interesting to see that in the stats you had Dom Sheed, Brad Shepherd, Elliot Yeo, Tim Kelly, and Nick Nats. You had 5 of them from their midfield being in the top 8 ranking points for the entire game. So I think that just goes to show they were always going to be able to control the air because Sydney's got a real lack of tools. And that's their biggest issue at the moment. Their most potent forward at the moment is Tom Papley, who's great. All-Australian content. I think he's All-Australian regardless of what place Sydney finish in. But he needs some help up forward in terms of tools.
Yeah. And you can't really... I can't see why they play Heaney forward a lot because I think Heaney is probably their best, if not second best player to Josh Kennedy. He needs to be around the ball. They need to get their hands on the ball.
No, absolutely. I fully agree with that. So it'll be interesting to see how they go this week against Richmond. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Down at Simmons Stadium, Geelong were able to get the job done over Gold Coast. The Gold Coast were very impressive. They were very competitive for 2.5 quarters, nearly 3 quarters. Obviously, and then I guess it's just the professionalism and the veterans in Geelong's team that steadied the ship and were able to get the job done.
Yeah, I didn't catch that game. I was away. But yeah, watching bits and pieces of it. Gold Coast were very ill-disciplined towards I think it was around the 3rd quarter, even after Matt Rowell went off, unfortunately. But yeah, Geelong just showed their class in the end.
Now, I want to get your opinion on this, Ned. Do you think that Matt Rowell can win the Rising Star after 4 games and about 5 minutes on the field in round 5?
I
will give you one stat while you think about it. So
Brownlow votes, is that the Brownlow vote stat?
Yeah, the player vote, the coaches vote. So at the moment, Matt Rowell has 30 votes. He's second in the AFL. So he right now, after 4 games, has more votes than Stevenson did when he won Rising Star. And I think it might be Sam Walsh, although I'm not 100% sure. He has more votes than he did when he won the coaches, the most valuable player.
Yeah, right.
So do you think that he will be able to win, given his form in the first, because let's assume that he's out for the season now.
Yeah. Unless someone else can come in and take the world by storm, I think. Yeah, I don't think he will. I don't think he will, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, and I hate to be biased with this, but, there's Max King. I think that, although it doesn't look at the moment, like Noah Anderson's just plodding along and he's doing fine, but he's not really standing out, but that's okay. Not that anyone's expecting him to. So it will be interesting to see. I don't think that 4 games is enough to win it, though. Next game, we had the Doggies and North. So
once again, I didn't tune into it, but just checking the scores every now and then. Looked like the Bulldogs had it all under control and no real worries.
Yeah, see, I think that it's really good. I think that Tom Liberatore is a must in their squad.
Absolutely.
Hard-nosed, under the ball. I reckon he gives off a lot of good energies to his teammates as well. You know, he's got that real soldier attitude. You know, happily put his neck on the line for his teammates. I think you need someone. I think every team needs someone like that to do that. It was good to see Josh Bruce kick 6. He's a good enough player. I was always a little bit disappointing to see him leave the red, white, and black, but he did well. He'd been pretty quiet for those first 4 weeks, so it was good to see him go and kick a bag, especially with Sam Lloyd out. They needed someone to stand up and get some scores on the board. It kind of goes to show a bit of a concern with North Melbourne, doesn't it, Ned, the way that they played on Saturday, the scoreline?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, to win a premiership and to win finals, you've got to, you know, you got to kick a score. You know, the best attack usually beats the best defence.
Yeah, and I mean, Ben Brown's been a little bit quiet the start of the season.
Yeah.
So, you know, they've got a lot to think about. They started out well enough, you know, be able to beat St Kilda in round 1 and GWS early on as well. But they look a little bit found out at the moment. So them playing Essendon this week will be a difficult task for them. Now, we had the next game voted as our game of the round between you and I, Ned. So Brisbane Lions versus Port.
Yeah, Brisbane did a number. Yeah, I didn't tune into that one as well because I was away, obviously. But, I think that probably moves Brisbane into premiership favouritism. I mean, we all thought Port were probably going to be the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick Port, but I thought Port, you know, might have given Brisbane a good run for their money, but no, it was not the case.
Yeah. No, so I learned 2 things from that game, or I think I've discovered 2 things. Firstly is that Brisbane are now at the moment, flag favourites alongside GWS. But, you know, they look the 2 best teams. And I think that Lachie Neale, barring something traumatic like a significant injury or anything, I think he's won the Brownlow. I can't see anyone else. You know, no one is up to the standard that he's been playing so far.
He's changed his game a lot from last season, I reckon, as well. Last season, he was a very high possession player, but did little impact, very much like Tom Mitchell.
Yeah.
But now he's becoming a lot more of an impact player, and I think that's what makes you more valuable as a player. Yeah, if you can get 40 touches, good on you. But if you can get, you've only got to look at some of the better players now, like Dustin Martin and, you know, even Dangerfield. You don't have to have all those touches, but you can, you know, have, you know, half the amount of touches. But if you do something with it every time, you become a lot more deadly of a player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that. And I saw a statistic saying that this season he is having a score involvement every 4 possessions or something like that. And you know, and I think it was drawing a comparison to Clayton Oliver, and he was having something like 12 possessions per score involvement. So really goes to show that once you start being able to penetrate the ball forward, then that's when you start getting your rewards. And I think that has changed him as a player, and he's got to be the red hot favourite for the Brownlow at the moment. I can't see anyone playing anywhere near as good as him. Adelaide versus Freo. Now, did you watch this one, Ned?
I'll be honest, I watched about the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
just got home.
I'm telling you, you missed absolutely nothing. I reckon, and this game apparently was played at prime time for a US audience. That is the worst game that they could have watched. To give them an introduction to AFL, it was horrible.
Mickey Walters did play well. But what I watched, Mickey Walters really stood up, and he was really the difference in the end. David Mundy also stood up. So,
yep, and I thought Andrew Brayshaw was really good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that he was really good in the start. But, Adelaide has some real problems, Ned.
Yeah, well, we rated them. Oh, did you rate them as the biggest loser? Oh, no, I rated them as the biggest loser.
Yeah, I did, yep.
Yeah, I think. And if they don't at least put together a competitive performance against West Coast this week, there's going to be alarm bells going off there because they will be in a whole world of strife.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just the skills, the basic skill areas, and you talk about one of the reasons I almost changed my tip was because Matt Crouch was coming into the game, and he's very similar to that Tom Mitchell kind of play. He's not getting a lot of quality out of his possessions. They're just dinking it 15 meters backwards, and like Matt Crouch,
Yeah,
he's a better player than that. Brad Crouch, he's a
yeah.
better player than that. They need to be doing more. Whether
They're
that's
two very good
from
footballers.
Yes, exactly. So whether it's the coaches that need to change their roles or whether they just end up in those positions, something needs to change because they're better than that.
Well, when you thought about Adelaide, go back, during the season 2017, there was so many headaches on every line that you looked. The midfield. How are you going to win the midfield when they've got Jacobs, Sloan, the Crouch brothers, and then their back line, with Talia and Lever and Laird, and then their forward line, with Tex, Eddie Betts,
Yeah.
and Lynch. Yeah, they were a nightmare to play against. Go back a few years ago, and now
It's unbelievable how much it all changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, Richmond Melbourne, your mob against the Mighty Demons. How did you find that game, Ned?
I think we found our touch a little bit. Obviously, it came at a massive cost, injury-wise. I thought probably, still a few skill areas that I think is quite un-Richmond-like, but towards the second quarter, we just, I think we won the game in the second quarter, and Melbourne threatened us at a few points, but we were able to get that, they kick a goal or kick 2 goals, and we'd just be able to get an answer, and just settle the ship a bit. So Kane Lambert was phenomenal. 100th game, he was definitely best on ground.
Mm-hmm.
Really liking Jack Higgins this year. I reckon Jack Higgins, now with Prestia and Cochin out, Cochin I would have said would be leading our best and fairest at this point in time. I reckon going forward in the next few games, Jack Higgins will actually be leading our best and fairest.
Yeah.
But just looking at the injuries that we copped from that game, Prestia, Cochin, Nankervis, and Lynch, which is a question mark. I don't think he was ruled as an out from the squad from memory. But I can't expect him to play.
I will be able to get that up. Just bear with me for 1 second. No, he's still been named in. Yeah.
Yeah, so he hasn't been named out, but
he hasn't been out. But
played.
you guys have an extended bench, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And so the last game we had GWS do a job on the Hawks up at their home track, Giant Stadium. I managed to pick up a couple of things for this. Firstly, Nick Haynes, he is All-Australian at the very least.
He's probably the best defender in the comp.
I'd have him equal with Howe, I reckon. If not, perhaps Howe slightly better, but he is outstanding. He just provides so much protection to that back line, and that it's going to be silky on the way out, the way that he's able to attack the ball.
Yeah.
Very
he
clean
can mark,
user.
He can mark, he can use the ball, he can run. He has a good one-on-one game, so he's nearly got the all-around package as a defender.
Josh Kelly is silk. He's obviously he's shown it for a number of years now, but him being picked 2, very, very good player, and he for someone to shine out in that Giants team, it takes a very, very good player, and he was able to do that on Sunday evening.
I think if the Giants want to win the flag, Josh Kelly needs to have an almost Brownlow-like year, I reckon.
Yeah. He needs to be doing that on a constant basis, because he's good enough to do that. He has to be top
3 in the Brownlow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have Taranto, who's obviously out, but I think he might be on his way back in shortly.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Yeah. And so there's a little stat that I found here. So throughout the course of the game, now they were comprehensively beaten. Hawthorn were. They had 12 more inside 50s, right?
Yeah.
Giants had 18 scoring shots from 26 inside 50s. That's phenomenal. I like to look at the numbers. I don't think I've seen numbers like that before for an entire game.
Efficiency, man.
Yeah,
Efficiency wins you
that's how you get
games.
it done. They won by 34 points with 12 less inside 50s. Hawthorn had 14 scoring shots from 28 inside 50s. They still had an average of efficiency inside 50 above the 2020 average. So they didn't do that badly in terms of entries. His Giants were so clean going into their forward 50. Just goes to show with that Ferrari, doesn't it, Ned?
Yeah, well, you did say that that last week that Leon Cameron has to be able to drive the Ferrari, and he did very nicely on the weekend.
He had it roaring, which brings us
Sunday drive.
Which brings us to this week. So tonight we've got Geelong-Brisbane.
Yeah, look, I honestly don't know which way this is going to go. Brisbane, despite being very good since the restart, they've played all their games at the Gabba. So this is really going to test Brisbane because the Gabba has really become a fortress for them. I think I've picked Geelong. I'm not convinced about it, but I just think the experience of Geelong. They obviously went down to Brisbane towards the end of last year, and I think they'll want to try and flex their muscles a bit on a younger side.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You've got Jack Stephen out. He's been managed. Which I don't think will play too much of a difference between teams. He hasn't been playing. He hasn't been playing overly well in the first place. But you've got Zorko coming back in, captain Hugh Jin.
Obviously.
I've tipped Brisbane, but it is interesting you say that because in that previous game last year, Geelong were winning that game for over 3.5 quarters. They lost that in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm expecting a really good game. This is my game of the round. I think.
Let me look through. Yeah. I'd probably say it's game of the round. Yeah.
Yeah, but and I think that as long as it's a close game, it's not going to really bring too many negatives on a team. Obviously, if Geelong managed to win, then that says a lot more about them than it does Brisbane. But I would think that Brisbane would be favourites heading into this, and I think that they should be able to get the job done just based on form.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment there.
Next game, we've got Collingwood-Hawthorn, Friday nights at Giants Stadium.
Who would ever thought that Hawthorn and Collingwood would be playing at West Sydney?
Yeah, it's the world we live in 2020. So, in Collingwood, we've got Sidebottom out, Howe out, and DeGoey out.
Yeah, they're pretty big outs. I was nearly considering tipping Collingwood just because of how poor Hawthorn were last week, but I think those 3 outs are huge. So I think there's a lot more holes now in the Collingwood side that may be exposed.
Yeah. I think that once again it comes down to Collingwood's forward line. I don't think that it's very unrealistic to place it all on a debutant, expecting him to come in and kick 2 or 3 goals. He might be a long-term solution for them, but straight away, I think they're going to have really true scoring. Yeah. And especially missing some quality in the mid, like in the outside midfield, like Sidebottom, I think that'll really impact their ability to get forward. I'm going to go Hawthorn on this one.
Yes, they're both going Hawthorn.
Beauty. Freo St Kilda.
So is Fife in? I know Fife is looking to get back.
Yeah, so for Fremantle, they have Brennan Cox in, Nat Fife and Travis Collier, and also Blake Acres. He'll be playing his first game for Fremantle. But the injuries, which are probably a bit more damning, you've got Griffin Logue, Jesse Hogan, Reece Conker injured.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Fife being in it, Fife's supposedly fit and raring to go. I think Fife definitely outweighs those.
Oh yeah.
But I've gone with St Kilda. I think St Kilda have shown some really good form over the last few weeks and played a lot more attacking brand, which I really like to watch. I can't see Fremantle getting the job done.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think that they'll put a tagging role on Nat Fyfe. They'll get Jack Steele onto him. Although, and we actually went to the last St Kilda Fremantle game, and Nat Fyfe ended up with 3 Brownlow votes in a losing performance. So he has the wood over St Kilda. I think he always has. So that's why I'm a bit biased in rating him as almost the premier player in the competition. But in saying that, I think that the additions in St Kilda, they should still manage to get the job done. Fremantle didn't do anything last week to really amaze me, so I would assume that it would be, Next game, we've got West Coast Adelaide.
West Coast.
Yeah, that's it. Not much more needs to be said.
That's all I'm going to say, West Coast.
You got Tex out as well. You have Miles Pahoki. He's been dropped. Lockie Murphy suspended. Ben Crocker admitted. They've changed their whole forward line. Tyson Stengel's getting a gig, Ned.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
He might have played 1 game for us, maybe, I think. He might have played 1 or 2.
West Coast missing their captain, Luke Shuey. Will be a bit of a, obviously be sorely missed. But in saying that, he was out at quarter time last week, and that's when they managed to play their best football. Not saying that he's not in their best 22, but I don't think they'll miss him in that sense.
Yeah, I think that loss won't have any huge influence on the end result.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're going to go for Eagles on this one, or will I put you down for Adelaide?
No, I'll go West Coast.
Ambitious goal.
Yeah.
All right, Melbourne Gold Coast at Giant Stadium.
Oh,
you go.
Yeah, well, I've gone Gold Coast. I'm not overly convinced either. I don't know which Gold Coast team's going to rock up or which Melbourne team's going to rock up. But I think Gold Coast will be very hungry to get back out there, and that's why I think they'll beat Melbourne.
Yeah, well, you got Isaac Rankin debuting. Melbourne have gone with 4 changes. They've I don't know. I don't know why they haven't had this all along. They've got Benal in, Jetta in, Oscar McDonald and Wiedemann in. It seems pretty basic to me to have those 4 guys in. I thought that they would make the top 22.
Yeah, easy.
I think that this is the week where Melbourne really need to make a statement. They've copped a lot of criticism outside of the footy oval in terms of media outlets. I think that they desperately need a win just to get the monkeys off their back and get the criticism off them. So I'm going to tip Melbourne to come out and get the win. Although I don't say that with a lot of faith.
Yeah, right.
Next game, Essendon and North. What do you got here?
Essendon.
Yep. Yeah, given the way that North Melbourne's played over the last few weeks, and they're missing Ben Cunnington, although Essendon is missing the package, Jake Stringer.
Yeah. Essendon, I think, Dylan Shield absolutely tore the game apart on, Friday night. And obviously North missing Cunnington is a massive loss because he's really, their big in and under and win you the ball and get you that centre clearance type player.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised how well Essendon are playing, to be honest. I'm a little bit sceptical on them, just given on their bottom 6 players aren't really, as strong as other teams. But they've been playing some really good football. They're not looking the best, like, aesthetically and to the eye, but they're getting the job done, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
In a shortened
games,
season, that's right. You need to win 8 or 9 games, and it doesn't matter how you do it. But it will be interesting to see how they go without Stringer. I thought Stringer was probably their best player. Oh, besides Shield, actually. He was just as good. Yeah, I think he had 10 disposals and 3 goals. So he was really electric for them. But yeah, I think Essendon will win this game also. I don't think there's too much to it at the moment, especially with Cunnington out. He's a bit of a workhorse for them. So if their midfield's not firing, I think it could be quite a significant margin towards the end of the night.
Yes.
So hopefully plenty of North fans can get up to Queensland and support them, Ned.
Plenty of their 25 members.
That's all right. There'll be no one getting triggered hearing that because none of their North fans will be listening.
Because no one goes for North Melbourne.
Next game, Port Adelaide GWS. Another very good game on hand.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Port will bounce back. I think I've gone with GWS because I think GWS are the premiership favourites. I think they look on a level above everyone else at the moment.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I would have been more likely to change my tip this week had Port Adelaide won last week.
Yes.
But yeah, it's impossible to say off because it was pretty much just a quarter and a half where they fell asleep. So this will also be a really good test for Port Adelaide. If they manage to get the job done, then that'll really stamp their authority within that top four of the competition. But if they lose, which I'm expecting them to, then they will have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they jump into that next level. And you will have to get into your mate Tyler, just to let him know for good stead.
He's actually quite a pessimistic Port Adelaide supporter. He's even when they were flogging Adelaide in the showdown, he still said they were a bunch of hacks.
It kind of takes you for a surprise. I thought he would have been pretty optimistic and confident with the position that they're travelling towards.
Yeah, we haven't spoke about it much, to be honest.
We have our Sunday afternoon game, Richmond Tigers versus Sydney Swans net at the Gabba. You guys have a lot of ins. Do you have the teams on you at the moment, or?
I can tell you our outs. So outs, Prestia, Cochin, Nank, Hooley, Edwards, and a question mark on Tom Lynch.
Yeah, so at the moment it looks like Tom Lynch is in.
Yeah, and the ins, so from what I remember is Ross, Graham, Soldo, Collier Dawkins, Egg Smith, Pickett, and Cam Coleman-Jones. And there might be another one in that list.
Yeah, Shy Bolton, yeah. Yeah. So it looks like they've definitely given the starting role to Ryler Collier Dawkins. He's new.
I think it's perfect time to play him.
Has Egg Smith played a game for you guys? He hasn't, has he?
Yeah, Egg Smith, I think he played 2 games last year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just before we started getting our injuries back. But yeah, so if from what I think is best for our outs in Prestia, Cochin, Nankervis, Hooley, Edwards, and question mark on Lynch. I'll say that Lynch is out. I've gone with Ross, Graham, Soldo, Collier Dawkins, Egg Smith, and Pickett to come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but there's no point denying there's a significant amount of outs. In saying that, I think that Richmond were able to do a really good job last year when they had their minor injury bout of getting some games into players like Graham, Ross, Soldo. You know, he's no rookie by any stretch. He's played enough games, and Shy Bolton knows what he's doing as well. So,
yeah.
Although you're missing a significant amount of games experience, you've had a lot of those players play in your very good teams.
Yeah.
You know, which puts you in much better stead than if you guys had a perfect list 12 months ago and didn't try and rotate those players.
Yeah, I think. And so just for picking's sake, I've actually gone Sydney just because I think that just with so many outs, I think we're just going to lack a bit of quality. Because Hooley and Edwards, Hooley's been a bit out of form, but Edwards provides us with so much poise off half-back. Prestia and Cochin win us the ball. Nankervis he was terrific the 2 weeks that he's been back in.
Mm-hmm.
And, without Lynch, so I haven't gone with us bringing in another tall because Chol is in the side.
Yeah.
Rewald or Chol's going to have to become the number one man to fly for the ball, and Rewald's in poor form, so puts Chol under the bus a fair bit.
Yeah, I still think, given your backline, I think that they'll be able to keep Sydney quiet enough, and Sydney have been really struggling as it is. So
they also going to consider Asprey out.
Yeah, that is true. Look, I'm going to tip Richmond. I'm going to give them a fair bit of respect. I'm pretty scared of that Richmond team. when they're full form, and even when they're, you know, missing several of their premiership squad from last year, I still think they're able to get the job done. I struggle to see Sydney kicking a winning score, predominantly the reason why.
Can't get past the Great Wall of Bolter.
That's it. Compared to himself as the best thing since sliced bread, Ned.
Yes.
All right, last game. We've got Sunday evening, Carlton versus the Doggies.
Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say as well.
Looks like Lockie Hunter's back in, along with
Nice.
Matt Suckling. So,
bit of firepower there off half-back with Suckling. That beautiful left boot of his.
yeah, elite. Yeah, I'm going to go Western Bulldogs as well, Ned.
I can't see Carlton getting the job done.
No. And very similar
last week.
Yep. Very similar to last week. I think if you manage to keep Doherty quiet, you manage to keep Cripps quiet. I don't think they offer up too much more firepower other than those two.
Yep.
Oh, beautiful. Well, that wraps us up in terms of our preview for round 6. We'll be chucking some stuff up along the page throughout the weekend. We'll put up our tips pretty much straight away to make sure that they're ready before the first bounce tonight. And I'm looking forward to another good week of footy. It's going to be interesting within the next week or two because we're going to have the ladder start to shape out. Like there's a lot of teams that are within, I think it's one game separating 4th to 13th or something like that.
Yeah. I think, these next few weeks we'll start to see the true contenders come out and the true pretenders start to flop.
100%. Well, in that case, Ned, thanks for joining. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So hopefully the Tides get up this week, keep you in a nice, pleasant mood.
And, wish all the best for the Saints, which I believe there will be no dramas there for St Kilda. So have fun.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Thanks for that. And we are all good.